Okay, you need to go to the Google Classroom, and this is your one assignment. I'm going to give you one assignment each of the 4 weeks, allegedly, okay? All you simply do is to keep your mind sharp on this stuff, because this is why we put in boat race through materials, because now we don't really have anything new we have to cover, okay? We're just going to review stuff. You're going to get graded on this. You get a piece of notebook paper and you simply take notes. Then, so you're going to put up on the top assignment 1. It's not even really assignment. Assignment number 1. Okay. Okay, here's what the first directions say. Copy them down. Graph each function. It's an equation. Identify the domain and range. Okay. I know this isn't the most ideal. I had a packet ready. I can't deliver the packet through the fiber optic cable. Okay. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do, and I know that you don't have graph paper, just do what I kind of tell you. You have y equals 5x to the second power plus 1. And make your graph over here. It doesn't have to be beautiful. Okay, now, this x to the second means it's going to be a parabola. It's going to be one of those U shapes. And also put domain and range, D and R. Put x for domain, y for range. Okay? Now, you need 3 coordinates because it's x to the second power. Okay. This is an A term. This is a C term. Okay, so you got an A term and a C term. There is no B term. If there's no B term, 0 is your middle. Okay, if there is a B term, you have to use opposite of B divided by 2A, but there isn't even a B term because there's no x in the middle. Okay, remember it's ax to the second, B is in front of x, and C doesn't have an x, so that's an A, that's a B, then 1, negative 1. Okay, then I go to one of these calculators and just plug them in. So I got 5 times 1 to the second plus 1, I got 6. Click up, instead of 1, we're going to put 0 in, that's 1. Then I got to clear it, 5 negative 1 to the second. Plus 1, and that's going to be back to 6, okay? Now, just sketch it. You don't need to number it, okay? 1, 6. So go forward 1, up 6, about. 0, 1. I stay in the middle, go up 1. Now, label that point 0, comma 1, okay? Label that point, just that point, 0, comma 1. Negative 6, 1. Okay, and there's your parabola. That's all you need to do. Now the domain is all, it's everything. You got arrows coming on both sides of it, so the domain is all. Now, here's what you do to find the range. The range is not all, okay? This is why I had you label that, 0, 1, okay? Put 1 down, please, the 1 here, the y, okay? Put 1 down next to the y, and you're above, so you put a greater than or equal to sign. That's all you do. Okay, number 2. Y equals negative 6x to the second power plus 2. This is going to be kind of similar to the last one. Okay, so there'll be 3 coordinate points that we have to find. We know it's a U because x is to the second. If x is the second, it makes a U. Okay, you have an A, that's an A. If it's got x to the seconds, it's an A. If it doesn't have x, it's a C. Okay, so we don't have a B again, so that makes the middle easy to find. It's automatically 0. So 1, negative 1. And again, here's the D, here's the R. Plug them in. So you got negative 6, 1 to the second plus 2, that's negative 4. Click up, 0, you get 2. Now put in negative 1. I know you don't have a calculator like I do, but listen, you're just taking notes, okay? So it's not like it's a big deal. Okay, so 1, negative 4. You go right 1, down 4. 0, 2. You always label that middle point, okay? That's the most important. And now it's upside down, which makes sense because we have a negative in the front, okay? Domain's still all. X equals all. Now the range. Take that second number, that's your y, because y is 2. And now you're under it, goes below, so the range is now less than 2. Okay, number 3. Y equals x to the second minus 6x plus 5. Okay. So again, we know it's a parabola. It's a U shape. Okay, A is 1. Now we actually have a B and a C. So it's not 0. So what do you do to find the middle? Well, you use the formula opposite of B divided by 2 times A. So the opposite of negative 6 is 6, and then 2 times 1 is 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then you add 1 to get 4, minus 1 to get 2, and that's what we'll put in. Okay? Domain range. Plug them in. So you got 1 parentheses 4 to the second minus 6 parentheses 4 plus 5. Got negative 3 there. I click up, and instead of 4, I want 3's in those. Okay, negative 4. Click up, and instead of 3's, I want 2's. Okay, negative 3. So 4, negative 3, I go forward 4, down 3. 3, negative 4, I go forward 3, down 4. Now down is going to be lower than the negative 3 was. And then you'll just be right there. And also label that one in the middle. Just put 3 comma negative 4. That's x, that's y. Now the domain is all. Now the range, put your y coordinate, negative 4. And all points are above that. So it's greater than negative 4. Greater than or equal to. All points on that parabola have a y coordinate greater than negative 4. Okay, one last graph. 4 parentheses. Okay. Y equals negative 2x a second plus 8x minus 3. So you're going to need to make your graph and 3 coordinate points. Alright, so we got an A, we have a B, we have a C. So we have to do something with the B now. We can't just use 0 for the middle. So opposite of B divided by 2 times A. That's a formula that finds the X vertex when there's a B. Okay, so the opposite of plus 8 is negative 8. 2 times A. A is negative 2. Or you can just cross it out, put negative 8, and then 2. Negative 2. So you got negative 8. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Then we divide negative 8 by negative 4. That's 2. So 1 lower. Okay, then you just plug and chug your way into the y's. So y equals, now we're going to put x is 3. Negative 2, 3 to the second. Okay, I got 3. Click up and you got 2. Click up and you got 1. Hopefully it's back to 3. Yep, so I know I did it right. So 3, 3, forward 3, up 3, 2, 5, only forward 2, up 5, label that middle. Okay, 5 is going to be up higher than 3 is. So 1, 3. Just sketch it. It's not going to be perfect. Okay. So x, y, domain. The arrows go both ways, so the domain's all. The range, you go with your y, 5, and you are only below the y because it goes down from there. That's a peak point, so less than 5 or equal to 5. Okay, now the next part, and this is a majority, it says solve each of the following equations. You need to rip a paper off, get a paper or a sticky note, and write the following things down. Okay, again, this is one thing where I would have something for you, but you know what? I don't. Okay, and also go to the next page in your notebook. I have a new page. Okay, there's going to be three various forms of a quadratic equation. There's if you have a and b and c are numbers, okay? It could be any number. Ax to the second plus bx with no c. Okay? Here's how you solve that. First you make sure it's equal to 0, then you make your GCF box, and you should be good to go. And then F1, F2, and all that. And then F1, F2. Okay? Now, there's if you have ax to the second plus bx plus c, okay? If you have all a, b, and c, here's what you do. First, you make it equal to 0. That's 1. Next, you make your GCF box. Then you make your T box, okay? Or actually, no, before that, okay? Before that, after you do this, you do your little square root. Square root, 2 parentheses, b to the second minus 4ac, just that part. Because that tells us if we go to the T chart or if we do the quadratic formula. That's, just put quadratic formula. That's a song. Opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, over 2a. We go this route if this is a decimal, okay? A rational decimal, we're using the quadratic formula. If it's not a decimal, we're going to do our T-chart, make our parentheses in the F1, F2, okay? That says decimal, not decimal, okay? So that's how you do an ax squared plus bx. Now sometimes you're going to have an ax squared and a c. There'll be no b, okay? All you simply do there is get x squared by itself, and then you make a square root, okay? Now, and then there's a third form, but it's easy to tell when it's like the others. There's if you have x in a parentheses to the second power. You bring in your q, you'll see that later, and you're going to make a table with 2 equations on each side, okay? So box those off so we can use it then, so the assignment's not so, this isn't so overwhelming, okay? Okay, so number 5, we have x to the power 2 minus 49 equals 0. All these quadratic equations all have 2 answers we're trying to find. And also, maybe make your box, you know, like those boxes I have on the paper a lot of the times, maybe go like this, okay, so we can organize it like that. Okay, I know there's 2 answers, so we have an A, there's no B, there's a C. So it's one of ax squared and c, no b. Get the x squared by itself by adding 49. Now I would divide by 1, but it's kind of pointless because it's still 49. Then I find the square root of 49. The square root of 49 is 7. But it could be 7 or negative 7. Solved. Okay? Next problem. X to the second plus 4x minus 32 equals 0. So there's 2 answers to that problem. Okay, what do we got? We got A, we got a B, we got a C. Okay, so A, B, C were equal to 0. Okay, so I do my GCF first. GCF with 1, 4, and 32 just be 1. I wouldn't do an X, okay? So that's kind of pointless. Now we're going to do the B squared minus 4AC, because that tells me if I need to waste time with my factoring in the parentheses, if I do this, or I just go to the whole quadratic formula, okay? So I go second, get the square root up, you need 2 parentheses right away. B is 4. Raise it to the second, minus, and then 4. A is 1. C is negative 32. Okay, I got 12. That was not a decimal, so I proceed with my t-chart and parentheses. Okay. So 1 times negative 32 is negative 32. So when I have a negative, that's a positive negative. If I have a positive up there, it's negative negative. I can always switch the signs, but for now, that's what we start with. So I add to get plus 4. 1 and 32, no. Divide by 2, I get 16, no. 3 is a decimal. If I divide 32 by 4, I get 8. There it is, but that's negative 4. If I go plus 8, minus 4, I'm there. Okay, what's your A? Your A is a 1. If it's a 1, you can just forget about the 1 and just make 2 parentheses. So x minus 4 plus 8. So x minus 4 could equal 0, x plus 8 could equal 0. So I add 4 and I get 4. I minus 8 and I get negative 8. I don't need to divide on these. Okay, 4 and negative 8 are the answers. Okay, number 7. We have 3x to the second plus 12 equals 0. 2 answers. Well, what do we have? What kind of a quadratic equation is this? We have an A and we have a C. Okay, an A, C, okay, it's a simpler process. You get the x squared by itself, then divide both sides by 3, and we get negative 4. Now apply square root. You can't take the square root of a negative. That's an NS, no solution. If you have to square root a negative number, there's not a real solution. That's a square root of a negative number. No, it's not 2. 2 times 2 is 4. It's not negative 2. Negative 2 times itself is 4, 2. Okay, number 8. Also label that what it was. That was 7. Number 8, x to the power of 2 minus 2x equals 3x. So there's 2 answers for all of these. Okay, that's an A. That's a B because it has an x. That's another B because it has an x. So it's only AB. So first we get this equal to 0. Well, I'll subtract 3x, and then I would subtract that from the negative 2x. So it's minus 5x equals 0. Okay, make your GCF box and you should be good to go. So GCF. 1 and 5 would be 1. They both have x's, so I would put x. So 1x comes out, and I go up and divide by 1x. We cross out the x's there. Now, x second divided by x leaves us with x. Okay, you got to know that. Minus 5. Now I solve it. There's your f1, 1x. There's your f2. And then you go from there. So 1x could equal 0. 1x minus 5 could equal 0. So divide by 1, we get 0. Plus 5, I get 5. You don't really need to divide by 1. It's still 5. 0 and 5. Okay, next problem. X to the second plus 4x minus 60 equals 0. Okay, and this would be problem number 9. Got 2 answers. We got an A, we have a B, we have a C. So make sure you're equal to 0, which you are. And now before I go drawing boxes, okay, use your discriminant formula. Do that first, okay? That's what you're going to do first. I'm going to be drawing boxes if I get a whole number. I'm just going to go to the whole quadratic formula if I don't. Got a whole number, so we want to factor it, okay? GCF and table. Whoops, sorry, I didn't do a very good job here with my squares. GCF's 1, okay, 1, 4, and 60. 1 times negative 60 is negative 60, so it's a positive times a negative, and it's got to add to positive 4. There's got to be something. I would have got a decimal up here if it wasn't something. Nope. Divide by 2, I get 30. Nope. Divide by 3, you get 20. Keep going. Divide by 4, you get 15. Nope. Divide by 5, get 12. Nope. And finally, if I divide by 6, I get 10. That's it. Okay, but it's got to be plus 4. So plus 10 minus 6. Okay, so your A is a 1. You don't need the 1. Okay, so you just make 2 parentheses. You go x plus 4, x plus 10. Or no, my bad, x minus 6 and x plus 10. So F1, F2, because I got minus 6 plus 10. Plus 6, we get 6, minus 10, we get negative 10. Okay, I want to change the next problem. I don't want to do 18x squared minus 45x minus 50. Here's what I want to do instead. Okay, I want to do 5x to the second minus 7x minus 6 equals 0. Okay, so there's 2 answers. We got A, B, C. So we have all 3 of them. So first we make sure the equation's at 0. It is. Now it's either box or the quadratic formula. So first I use the, by the way, this thing is known as the discriminant of a quadratic equation. Okay, punching that in tells you the direction to take. So negative 7 to the second minus 4, 5, negative 6. Okay, I got a whole number, so I want to factor it into the parentheses. You have to do that. I don't want you to just go into the quadratic formula. You need to remember how to factor. Okay, 5, 7, and 6 are only in the first row. You wouldn't take an x. Then 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. So it's a positive times a negative, and we're adding to try to get to negative 7. Nope. If we divide by 2, I get 15. Nope. You divide by 3, you get 10. There it is. Okay. So A is 5x to the second. Okay. Now if A is 5, you can't forget about 5. So to deal with the 5, you make 4 parentheses instead of 2. We start off with 5, and then we're going to go x plus 3 and x minus 10. Now that's only in the first row, so that stays the same, 5x plus 3. That's in the fifth row, so I divide on that multiplication table. So it's going to be 1x minus 2. Okay, then F1, F2. Okay, so either 5x plus 3 could equal 0, or 1x minus 2 could equal 0. So minus 3, you get negative 3. You can divide negative 3 by 5, or if it's a decimal, just put negative 3/5. Here you add 2. So 1x equals 2. Negative 3/5 and 2 are the answers. Okay, next one, number 11. X to the second plus 4x minus 15 equals 0. Draw the boxes like I usually have if you like those. There's 2 answers. We got A, we got B, we got C. So you know what that means first. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to first make the the discriminant, and I'm going to punch that in. So second x squared, double parentheses. Because it would be terrible to do the t-chart and not find anything, so I need to know if I even need to waste time with that. Okay, no I don't. Okay, keep that on your calculator, because we're not going to do that. We can't factor it. We'll never get the t-chart to work. So opposite of b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So get rid of that square root. We already know that. It's going to be 8.72. Okay? Then the opposite of b is negative 4. And then a is going to be 1. Now 2 times 1 is 2 last I checked. And now I do the math. I go negative 4 plus 8.72, click equals, divide by 2. 2.36. Now I go negative 4 minus 8.72, click equals, divide by 2, negative 6.36. Just round them, okay? Next one, number 12. We had 3x to the power of 2 minus 7x plus 3 equals 0. So there's 2 solutions, and we got A, B, and C. So again, equals 0. First plug your ABC into the discriminant formula, and that'll tell you if it's factorable or not, okay? So second square root, you need 2 parentheses at the beginning. Negative 7 to the second, minus 4, 3, and 3. Again, don't waste time doing this. We want to just go to the quadratic formula. That's the song. Okay, so the opposite of b is going to be, by the way, get rid of the square root. I just plugged that in. You got 3.61 or 60. Just go 60. So we got 7, and then 2 times 3 is 6. So we go 7 plus 3.60 divided by 6, 1.77. If you keep it 7.6, I don't really care. Then 7 minus 3.60 divided by 6, 0.57 or 56. Okay, number 13. Split it like I do the assignments, okay? So 13, we got x to the power 2 plus 4x plus 13 equals negative 8. 2 answers. What do we have for A, B, and C? We got A, we got B, we got C. Ooh, we got 2 C's. Now, we can't have that happen. We got to get it equal to 0, so I would add 8 to the 13. And that's 1x to the second plus 4x plus 21 equals 0. Okay, that's 3 terms. Okay, so again, plug them into the discriminant formula to see if you need to even waste time with the t-chart. Okay, I want you using the t-chart if you can, but if you get an irrational decimal when doing this, that tells you you're not going to be able to. Minus 4, 1, 21. Ooh, I got a domain error. That's even better yet, and that is correct. Okay, plug it in again. And I'll explain why you're getting the domain error. That is right. Because you see B is 4, A is 1, C is 21. 4 to the second, 16, okay? And if I take 4 times 1 times 21, that's 84. That's going to be a negative, and you can't square root a negative. That's a no solution, okay? Okay, number 14. We have 2 times 2 quantity, 2x minus 5 the second equals 242. So there's 2 answers. And that's going to be a different cat, okay, on this one here. First off, what you're going to do is replace that parentheses with an oddball variable known as the q. We'd put a 2 in front. It's to the second power. It equals 242. Then I will make a table where later on I bring back 2x minus 5 because I replaced it with q. First I got to solve for q. So I divide by 2. 241 divided by 2 is 121. And I find the square root of 121, which is 11. Okay? Now, but remember, that could be positive or negative 11. So I plus 5, and I get 16. Divide by 2, and I get 8. I plus 5, negative 11 plus 5 is going to be negative 6. I divide by 2, and I get negative 3. Okay. Okay, story problems. Read it. I'm not going to write the whole problem down on a piece of paper. That's going to take 5 minutes. An online music store sells about 4,000 songs each day when it charges $1 per song. For each 5-cent increase in price, 80 fewer songs per day are sold. Find how the store can maximize. You see that word maximize? If you see the word maximize, draw a big parabola because you're finding the maximum point, x, y. But this has nothing to do with gravity, okay? You're going to have a y equals blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank. But first, you don't go negative 16. That isn't going to work. Y is going to be our money that we make. So I make 2 parentheses, one for the money and one for the items I sell. Now your money amounts have to go together. You have $1 and you have 5 cents. Okay, you got to put the money, only dollar amounts go here. So it starts at $1, don't put a variable, that's your starting amount. 5-cent increase, so we increase it by 5 cents. But we increase it by 5 cents over and over, up to $1.05, to $1.10, to $1.15, to $1.20, $1.25, $30. I don't know when it stops, so I put X. And now I look for the other 2 numbers. 4,080. So 4,000s is the beginning amount, and if that's plus, this is minus. They have to run opposite, because if we raise the price, it takes away from the items I sell. So 80x. Now to get your ABC, you need to FOIL it. FOIL. First, I take 1 times 4,000. Then I take 1 times negative 80x. Then I take 0.05x times 4,000. Then I take 0.05x times negative 80x. Okay, that's 4,000. 1 times negative 80 is negative 80x. 0.05 times 4,000 is 200x. Okay, 200x. And then I go 0.05. Remember to make your 80s negative, by the way, because I had a minus sign in front of it. Negative 4. Then x times x is x to the second, so negative 4x seconds. So that's my A, negative 4. Negative 80 plus 200 is 120, and then 4,000. Now, remember the formula to find the maximum. Opposite of B divided by 2 times A finds our x, and then y, just plug that into the equation. Okay, so the opposite of B would be negative 120. And on bottom we got 2 times negative 4, that'd be negative 8. Then I divide and I get 15. Now I just plug 15 into that equation. So y equals negative 4 times 15 to the second plus 120 times 15 plus 4,000. 4,900. Now that's how much money you made right there. 15 is not the songs you sold. That's how many times you changed the price by 5 cents. Okay? So changes. 15 changes in price, okay? I would up it by 5 cents 15 times. Okay, last problem, number 16. Okay, a garden's width is 5 feet more than twice its length. Its area is 240 square feet. Find the length and width of the garden. And also go up here, use that is, that's important, okay? So before is, you see the word width. Then I put L on the other side, and I work my way backwards from the length twice, so 2. 5 feet more plus 5. Now I can write an equation where I can solve it. Area is length times width, and we know the area is 240 square feet. Now the width is by itself, so what I do is I get rid of the width and put 2L plus 5 in that parentheses, and in here I just drop my L down. Now I need to do my distribution, 1L times 2L, and 1L times 5, so it's going to be 2L to the second and 5L. Can't combine anything, so it's 2L to the second plus 5L equals 240. Okay, so it's a quadratic equation. L has two answers. What kind of a quadratic equation? Well, that's A, that's B, that's C. So it's this kind. We have to get this equal to 0. So I minus 240, and then I just put it behind everything. So 2L to the second plus 5L minus 240 equals 0. Okay, then use your discriminant to see if you have to make boxes or if you can just use quadratic formula. So second, x squared, double it. B is 5 to the second minus 4. A is 2. C is negative 240. Okay, obviously I'm going to have to use quadratic formula. Opposite of B, plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, over 2a. Okay, get rid of this square root. We don't need to do that because I just figured it out. It's 44.10. Okay, opposite of b, you got negative 5, and then a is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So I go negative 5 plus 44.10, divide by 4, 9.78. And I go negative 5 minus 44.10, divide by 4, negative 12.28. Ditch the negative, that's not important. Your length is 9.78. Now find your width, you go all the way up here, you replace that L with 9.78. So I go 2 times 9.78 plus 5, 24.56. Those are your two answers. That's all I need you to do for this first week. Okay. Second week, probably the same thing. Third, fourth, same